Welcome back to the channel. My name is Jeff, and I wanted to make a fairly short video about generative AI. Obviously, we're in kind of the Wild West phase of what this is going to be. It's everywhere. It's doing all kinds of crazy things that no one even dreamed of it doing a couple of years ago. And now we have, actors on strike for their likeness being used. I just read something this morning about someone who signed their voice over to IBM, and now he heard it out in public somewhere, wasn't quite sure what he was signing up for. But I wanted to talk about it in a much narrower place, which is the creation of books and film scripts and television scripts. This may come off as a bit of a provocation, but one thing that has happened in the arts, I think before penny dreadfuls and before the turn of the 20th century, there was storytelling. People wrote books and told stories. I would imagine, I'm not a Victorian and earlier era expert, but they were doing the basics of story, but it wasn't dialed in. Let's put it that way. It wasn't dialed in, I don't think, to the level that it's dialed in now. I think when genre stuff came in, the penny dreadfuls, then science fiction, weird literature came in this century, the genres started to arrive. And when the genres, I think, started to arrive, I guess post-Poe, if you think about it, the dictates of the genre became something. So if you were writing a horror story of some kind, if it was a haunted house horror story, well, it took place in a house and there were ghosts. If it was a outer space sci-fi story with aliens, it took place in outer space and there were aliens. So I feel like we've gotten, 100 years later, we've gotten to a point where we subgenre everything now. There's between music and literature and all kinds of things. There's so many subgenres. But they're there because we have boiled down what these things require, literally to a science, okay, if you think about it. We've created templates that are so exacting that screenplay guides are telling you, okay, by page 30, your first act is ending, you got to do this. By page 60, you got to do this. By page 90, agents are writing books telling writers, hey, by the first 5 pages or the first chapter of this book, you better do this, this, and this, or it's going in the slush pile when we're done, So there's this expectation of how stories need to be, how they need to be written, how characters need to progress and all this crap. And so in a way, and it's probably always been this way that popular literature is story-driven. So it makes me think, again, it's a little bit of a thumb in the eye. Not so much the actors. I think it's a real thing. And obviously, as a creative myself, my heart goes out to anyone who's working in the arts, who's being threatened by this stuff. But as someone who watches things and reads things, I'm also realizing that in a way, in some ways, we asked for it. What's demanded is the same thing, but a little different. Scripts are described by, it's this movie meets this movie. Books are described by, in the style of blank, it's this blank. And blurbs are, if you liked this author, you love this author. So, and obviously this is driven by the market because this is what we are in the West, we're market driven. But the market has kind of pushed us now we have these templates, these formulae for almost everything that we do. In terms of larger selling popular books and popular storytelling, whatever form it's going to take, we have a template. We've got a map. All right? And what it's done in my mind is create enormous amounts of hollow content. I've read hollow content myself, not that it's a bad thing necessarily. But what it's done is, If you're picking up a crime novel in the vein of X, and it's about a forensic, examiner, you know, there should be no surprises in the book when you read it. If you're picking up a police procedural, he's going to have a drinking problem, right? These things are so well mapped out and so well beaded that in a way, well, now computers are coming along and they're taking these maps and they're generating content from them. And my first thought, when I thought about that was sort of like, good, so much of it sucks. So much of this, I dip into movies as much as I can, different types of movies. I try to read different types of stuff. But I mean, everything is subgenred now, and it's all the same stuff. It's all the same stuff. Doesn't mean it's all bad, but it's all the same. If you want this experience, you read these kind of books and you'll get the experience. And very rarely are you're going to get really turned around by it. Those little rough edges get smoothed out by the editing and by the process, everything. So we've got this machine in a way. It's like we've gone into denial. We have a popular storytelling machine in place already that's churning out soulless process. The James Patterson school where he, quite blatantly is like, I just come up with ideas and everybody farms them out. I put my name on it. That's, in a weird way, that's already an AI generative. It's human intelligence, but it's like, here's my idea, you go write it, I put my name on it. So he didn't write it, but, because a human wrote it, we're okay with that, right? And I feel like, in one sense, who cares? Like, if the next Transformers movie comes out and it's good, and then someone tells me it was written by a machine, and I'm realizing, wow, it really wasn't much different than the last 5, it's only going to prove my point. If, some machine comes out and reads all Stephen King's books and then writes a couple of Stephen King's books under his name, in a sense, author Lee Child recently stopped writing Jack Reacher books, and he's now letting his brother write them. But it's under both of their names. What's to say that at some point they won't just let have an AI read all the Jack Reacher books, and then with his blessing say this AI is going to write Reacher books for the next 10 years. And if they're decent and people like them, who cares? Now, yes, who cares in terms of taste? Now, obviously the job's being taken away. But that this is what companies want. Already there are meetings in boardrooms around the world in motion picture, in publishing, in TV. I mean, already TV, they're fighting to have writers hired on. Because I think what's happening now is they have 2 writers that come up with all the scripts, and then they hire writers' rooms to just kind of do the grunt work, and they probably don't give them medical. It's kind of like third-party work. And so these people are like busting their ass making TV content, but they're not, they have families, they're not making a living wage, and they're being exploited in a way. And the 2 writers on the show are the full-time employees making all the money. So it's one of the things I think the TV writers are battling, right? So that the corporate guys now are like, well, maybe we need one writer. We need one writer to kind of do the templates. What's the template for this show? We need one human person to do the template. And then maybe going forward, we don't even need that person. We'll need an AI to template it out and then write everything. And then we'll never have to pay anybody again. That's step 1. Step 2, if technology gets good enough, I still think we're probably 50 plus more years away from, deep fakes that don't fool the audience. I don't think you can deep fake. You can't really deep fake anything. I don't know. Maybe you can, but it seems like it's going to be a while until actors have to worry. But I think writers have to worry now. But eventually, this is the corporate thing. This is the corporate mindset. And what I'm getting at, in a sense, is that, a lot of this corporate product is crap. It is crap. I mean, I know we seem to be in a peak TV era, but so much TV, I think when I see a show coming up, I'm like, oh, it's just another one of those kind of shows. Or now, I'll be honest, Bosch Legacy's coming up and Reacher's coming up, season 2. Gonna watch it. Is it rechurned, empty corporate product? In some senses, you're damn right it is. I know exactly what I'm going to get. I happen to like it, right? But it's in a weird way, that kind of soulless product is already bouncing all around. We're doing it all the time. We're watching it all the time. And humans are trying to be more and more machine-like in their storytelling so they can make more of it with higher quality more often by using templates and using these kind of things. So in a weird way, we've created the preconditions now for machines to come in and do it for us. Like if we didn't have any of these templates, if we didn't have these ideas of by page 30, you got to do this, by page 40, you got to do this, okay, hero's journey, Joseph Campbell, if an AI reads Joseph Campbell, but what if there was no Joseph Campbell? What if we didn't have any of these things? Then we wouldn't have this problem, right? If we didn't have these maps of stuff. But so in one sense, I think the content creators, filmmakers, and writers who don't do run-of-the-mill things are kind of interestingly placed right now. In a sense that maybe after 10 years, the only human-created stuff is going to be the outlying directors, the outlying writers, the oddities that are in the margins now. And they'll probably still be in the margins then. But I think, I don't know that you could have generative AI read Ulysses and bang out Ulysses 2, The Revenge. Like maybe, maybe you can. That's kind of scary. But again, I think really original writers, Mark Danilewski, House of Leaves, those books when they pop out, in a weird way, maybe more of that will happen because all of the people, if you're a human being, maybe in 10 years, and you write a spec script because you want to get a job, and someone's like, well, I can get a machine to write this, so what's the point? Throws it over his shoulder. Maybe it's going to force these creators to be like, well, you know what? I got to delve now. I got to delve in and see what it's like. What is my artistic soul? What is me? How do I want to tell stories? And maybe this pushback of you can't just come up with run-of-the-mill crap anymore because we have machines that do that, right? So it's weird. So again, kind of summing up, I think, not as a creator. I mean, again, I don't want these people to lose their jobs, but in a sense, aesthetically, we're not going to know the difference. We're not going to know the difference. The AI is going to be scripted in all these shows because humans have set them up for it. We've templated it out. Here's how you do one of these shows. And now a machine's coming along and saying, well, thank you very much. We're going to go ahead. We'll take that off your hands right now. And I think for me, if a machine comes along and writes another 4 or 5 seasons of Bosch, and they're good, and they're still actors playing the parts, and they're really good, I'll be like, good, it's a good, whoever programs that machine, it's a good generative AI. I like the show. I'm happy. I'm watching it. Do I give a shit? Not really, I do kind of existentially because it's kind of what a revolution in how we produce art in the world, right? But again, just as to say, I feel like so much of the stuff that's templated and ready for AI interference is already soulless and burnt out. Big budget Hollywood stuff. If the Joker, the Jokers that are coming out now, or the Batman, the next Batman movie, those outlier superhero movies will be the most interesting movies. But maybe you'll have machines writing the DCEU, and machines will be writing Marvel movies. Will it really be that much different than what we're seeing right now? That's my point.